Today we're doing a review of our trigonometry formulas. And there's basically two different components to this unit. One is right triangle trigonometry and the other is non-right triangle trigonometry. So when you're doing your triangles today, if there is a 90-degree angle, you can use your SOHCAHTOA formula triangles, and you can also use Pythagorean theorem. If there is no 90-degree angle, you cannot use SOHCAHTOA or Pythagorean theorem. Your options are sine law and cosine law. Now, sine law is when you have a loop of information, you know an opposite side and opposite angle. Cosine law is for when you have side, angle, side, or all three sides. So basically, when there is no loop of information, it's cosine law. Now, a little trick is that sine law and cosine law do work on right triangles. So if SOHCAHTOA is a little confusing and that's something you want to just let go and focus on sine law and cosine law, that actually works. So use whatever formulas you're most comfortable with while you're working these triangles. I will be reviewing SOHCAHTOA and sine law and cosine law though. So this is a right triangle. So I will be solving this triangle using SOHCAHTOA. And this triangle is not labeled, so I think I'm going to go ahead and just call it an ABC triangle. And I'll put C on the hypotenuse. And I'm going to just write down what's given to us so I can figure out what I'm solving for. C is the 90-degree angle. Side A is 10. Side B, we don't know. And the hypotenuse is 12. You can, again, solve for whatever you want first, angle A, angle B, or side B. I think I will just start with angle A. So I'm going to solve for this. Using A as my angle of perspective, I'm going to label OA and H. So here's the hypotenuse. This is my angle, so here's the adjacent, and here's the opposite. I'm solving for A, angle A. My adjacent side has nothing on it, and I'm not going to use it. So I'm going to erase that. O and H is sine. You might want to print that formula sheet as your first page. So if you haven't done that, if you haven't printed the handout, please pause the video and do that first so you can easily reference your formulas. So angle A is what I'm solving for. O and H is what I'm using. So this is sine. Sine of my angle is opposite over hypotenuse, 10 over 12. Now, I have to isolate for my variable. So A is going to be sine -1 of 10 over 12. I'm just going to plug that right in my calculator. I get to be 56 degrees, 56.44. Angle B, I'm just going to subtract 4. So 180, take away 90, take away 56. That's a 34-degree angle. And B, I probably will use Pythagorean theorem to solve for. It's initially a squared plus b squared equals c squared, but I'm solving for B. So I'm going to just rearrange that. B squared is going to equal c squared take away a squared, the hypotenuse, take away my short side. C is 12 and A is 10. And remember bad math, you can't just do 12 take away 10 and end up with 2 squared. You have to do 12 squared, take away 10 squared, so 144, take away 100, and you end up with 44. Square root both sides. And you get 6.6. I'm going to just check to see, do my answers make sense? 90 is my biggest angle, and C is my longest side. 34 is my smallest angle, and 6.6 is my smallest side. So that does seem to line up. So as a quick review, this is a 90-degree angle, so I did use sine to solve for one of my angles, and I used Pythagorean theorem to solve for my missing side length and subtracted from my other angle. Now, this is not a right triangle. It's not given to me that it is a 90-degree angle, so I'm not going to use SOHCAHTOA, and I'm not going to use Pythagorean theorem. My only options are sine law, cosine law. And when you look at this quickly, hopefully you see, oh, I actually know A and A. So then this is sine law because I have a loop of information. And this actually asked me to solve the whole triangle. So I think what I'll do is I'll go ahead and solve for C first, angle C. And then once I have that, then we'll keep going with what we're solving for. So let's just fill this out here. Angle A is 43. I don't know my other angles. Side A is 15.3, so there's that loop of information. And C is 13.6. And let's go ahead and solve for angle C. So if I'm solving for angles, angles go on the top. So I'm going to use A and C of my formula. Angle A is 43 degrees. 15.3. 13.6. C is my variable, so I'm just going to multiply both sides by 13.6. So sine 43 divided by 15.3 times 13.6. And I get 0.6, so on and so forth. 0.606 dot dot. That's equal to sine of C. So I'm going to, on my calculator, do sine -1 of my answer to get C. Get a 37-degree angle. Now I have two angles, so I'm going to just go ahead and subtract from my third. So 180, take away 43, take away 37 is a 100-degree angle for B. Now I'm using side B. This is not a right triangle, so I cannot use Pythagorean theorem. So to find side B, I'm going to use sine law, but I'm going to switch it upside down for sides. And I will use A and B just in case something went wrong with my calculations with C, which would also infer there might be a problem with my angle B. But let's just go ahead and use A and B. So A over sine of A equals B over sine of B. Side A is 15.3. Angle A is 43. We don't know side B, but angle B we just calculated for. There should be a capital B in the bottom there. Angle B is 100 degrees. B is what we're trying to isolate. So I'm going to multiply sine of 100 over to the other side. 15.3 divided by sine of 43 times sine of 100 is 22.09. So we could say 22.1. And again, I'm just going to check that this information seems to make sense. 100 degrees is my biggest angle. 22.1 is definitely my biggest side length. 37 is my smallest angle, and 13.6 is my smallest side length. This formula, this triangle, we use strictly just sine, and that all of your angles equal 180 degrees. All right, so here's another triangle. And if you look here, you can see there is no loop of information. I have angle R, but not side R. I don't have angle S, but I have side S. I don't have angle T, but I do have side T. So no loop and no way to get that loop. So this is definitely cosine law. And with cosine law, I'm going to solve for the side, the missing side first. So I'm going to be solving for this. Just for the sake of our formula, I'm just going to label this as A for a minute. Your cosine formula is A squared equals B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cosine A. If you want to rearrange your formulas, that what we're solving for here is R. This would be angle R, and we could switch this and make this S and T. So maybe I'll do that for the sake of this triangle. So what we're solving for is R, and my other two letters are S and T, and the order does not matter. So feel free to either rearrange your formula with the letters or just what you're solving for, just make that A and follow the formula. Either way is fine. R squared, and again, I can't use Pythagorean theorem for this because I don't have a 90-degree angle. So it's not even an option to use Pythagorean theorem. So I'm going to plug in my numbers here. I'm going to grab my calculator. 9 squared plus 10 squared minus 2 times 9 times 10 times cosine of 80. So initially I get R squared equals 149.74 square root that. $12.2. Now you can see I do now have a loop of information. So if you want to, you can actually switch right away to sine law. It's a little bit more straightforward with which variables you're using. In this case, you could solve for angle S or angle T first, and then just subtract for the other one. Because we haven't used cosine law for angles yet this lesson, that's what I'm going to do is keep going with cosine law. But feel free to use whatever formula you're most comfortable with, sine law or cosine law, with this being a not right triangle. So I'm going to go ahead and solve for angle S first. So with cosine law, if I'm solving for an angle, I have to be very careful with how I rearrange this. This was A, so if I'm switching A and S, this becomes S. B and C were next, so that becomes R and T. And in the bottom, only these two get repeated. So I'm going to do 9 squared first in my formula because I'm solving for S, so I'm starting with side S. minus 12.2 squared minus 10 squared negative 2, 12.2, 10. I'm using my fraction button. And I'm getting cosine of s equals 0.687. This one actually repeats. So move cosine over and you'll get s equals cosine -1 of your answer. So I get 46.5, so let's say a 47-degree angle. And then for t, I really would just subtract for that one. It's just a lot quicker than using a formula, but if you want to practice your formulas, I mean, by all means do that. So 180, take away 80, obviously 100, and then take away 47. You're going to get a 53-degree angle for t. And then let's just check to see if our answers make sense up here. So my biggest angle is R, which is 80 degrees. It is across from my biggest side. And S is my smallest angle. It's across from my smallest side. So in your lesson today, please make sure you're using your formulas appropriately, whether it's a right triangle or a non-right triangle, and use your calculator comfortably. And let me know if you have any questions tomorrow when we meet. Talk to you then.